Previously on The Business.
And I have to welcome to our show our very first guest for today. His name is Mel Brooks. He's a senior lecturer on the program of Finance for Non-Financial Managers at Hanley Business School. Welcome, Mel.
Hi, good morning.
It's great to have you in studio. Can you tell us a little bit more about this program and what exactly it's about?
Well, the analogy I'd like to use is, what I always tell people is that when you board an aircraft and a passenger plane and you look to your left, most people are, wow, all those dials and knobs and levers, etc. How do they know what's going on? If you haven't seen that, you've seen it in the movies. And I always tell them, well, don't worry, because the person sitting in the left-hand seat, the captain, will have sat in the right-hand seat for thousands of hours. So he'll know what's going on. Now, the problem in business is this. Managers are promoted because of their leadership, or they're seen as potential leaders. They have skills in functional areas, and they put them in charge of something. But they don't know how to read the instruments. And the instruments of business are your financial reports, your financial statements, and so on. And so the aim of this program is to give them confidence in that area.
Mel, just to interject there, I mean, I speak from experience here. Somebody who didn't have a degree in, didn't have a BCom, didn't have a CA kind of qualification, but went through an MBA where there was a lot of financial management content. And I was terrified, and I'm sure a lot of business people and these kinds of managers you're referring to are terrified of that kind of thing. I just want to be clear, though. We're not saying we're trying to turn managers into accountants, are we? But we are saying perhaps that they need to be able to ask the right questions of the professional and expert.
Yes. It's all about knowing which questions to ask, the ability to evaluate the answers, and then know what the next question is, because there's always a next question. And the thing is that many of the aspects of business that need to be managed by the operating managers, they tend not to, because they think, oh, well, that's got something to do with accounting and finance. For example,
the numbers man.
Yeah, for example, working capital management. You think,
Yes.
oh, that's for the accountant.
Yeah.
And it's not. There are aspects of that where operating managers need to be hands-on. So as you said, this program is not aimed at turning these managers into accountants. It's just to give them that confidence and the ability then not only to understand the numbers, but to take responsibility for them. Because it's the management actions of these managers that cause the numbers.
It's also quite interesting that a lot of business people don't realize, I remember being told by one of our lecturers during the finance module on the business course that cash flow is the number one reason why businesses close down. Is that still the case?
What it is. I always say to people, assets and profits are like food and water to humans. And humans can go for a long time without food and water, but they can't survive for seconds without oxygen. And the cash flow is the oxygen of the business. And yes, quite a heavy emphasis is placed on that because it's the actions of operating managers that have an effect on cash flow. For example, if they, in order to achieve sales targets, extend credit to people who are really not good payers, that has an impact on cash flow. So it's all about that type of thing. It's not to turn them into accountants. But I think what does inhibit people is that they think this is difficult. It's not. It's not a rocket science. And we take them step by step. We always assume that people have no prior knowledge. Even if they do, that's fine. But I often find that what people have knowledge of is the jargon.
Yes,
And
it's
so
a whole new language,
yeah,
but it's just another language, isn't it?
It's a language. And so that financial literacy is what we're after. But it does, in my experience, equip people to be more effective out there in their management roles as non-financial managers. The people I call the real people in business, the people who make things happen, people who achieve sales and so on. So once they have this confidence, the feedback that I get is that they go back and give accountants a hard time. I don't have anything against accountants. It's just that sometimes they don't understand that the message that they have to convey to their non-financial managers. They don't understand just that these people don't understand what they're talking about. So what this program does then is take them step by step. And it's not a whole long series of lectures. People are given practical exercise things to do to help them internalize this.
Is it case study based?
No, there are some small case studies because we don't have the time that you would have on a longer program, but they will know what a budget looks like, for example, and they will know what the profit budget looks like. In other words, the series of projected income statements. They'll know what a cash flow forecast looks like because they will have done one with me. And of course, I can use the cash flow once they've done that whole budget. I can rearrange things and cause a profitable business to fail.
Yes.
Profit is just a number written on a piece of paper.
Yeah, but it's the story behind the numbers that's really the wonderful part, isn't it?
Well, this is it, yes, to understand what causes the numbers to appear as they do. But profit, just a number written on a piece of paper. The cash position can be something entirely different. So you could have a business that's making hundreds of millions in profit, but they close at the end of March because they can't pay the salaries.
How long is the course? I mean, how much time out of their kind of day job do people who want to attend the course have to set aside?
Well, it's 3 days, so that we don't have to put too harsh a pace on this. It allows us to cover everything from costs. Many of these programs that one sees out there don't cover the cost area, and yet that's vital because people don't understand what is meant by these so-called hidden costs. They think that's some accounting mumbo-jumbo. It's not. It's something very real. But actions that managers take can have an effect on holding costs, and those holding costs are very real things.
Are there types of businesses, people who might be listening, specific types of businesses that you would encourage to attend this kind of course who probably don't have a full-time dedicated knowledge of this kind of thing?
No, this is the program is aimed at all businesses because we deal with generic business principles and issues that they will come across with in any business.
So whether you're a service provider running a consulting firm or whether you're a product provider selling actual tangible widgets, you still need to have this kind of information is really the message you're getting across.
And sometimes, though, we do run specialist programs for people, for example, from construction or any project type business, because I have some experience in that area, and I always tease them. I say, well, these are the problems we had in the 80s. I'm sure you don't have them now. And you hear peals of laughter because nothing's changed. So that's quite a different type of industry. And we do specialist programs in company for various companies.
Do you also look at South Africa's tax regime in terms of corporate tax and how the accounting and the methods that might be applied? For example, the type of depreciation one puts into one's books. Do you look at that kind of thing on this course?
We show them the implications of the decisions made regarding depreciation, and we introduce them to the terminology so that they go back and they understand what these things are, what amortization means and why it's different to depreciation, etc. And we're also running this program in Lusaka and Harare in March.
Is that under the auspices of Henley as well? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, the aim of Henley Africa is to operate throughout Africa, and our Dean, John Foster Pedley, is quite keen on this, and he wants to spread the word on business, leadership, etc. throughout Africa, and that is our brief. So we'll be offering this in Lusaka, Harare, and later on in Tanzania and Kenya and Namibia. And I've already been up to Lusaka. It's always great going there because it's quite a vibrant feel to the place.
And an absolute hunger for knowledge, don't you find, in a lot of these African cities?
They're prepared to work hard. I just wish that South Africans would travel more in Africa. They'd find it a very interesting place and very interesting people.
And a lot of opportunity. I mean, Henley clearly has seen a business opportunity in terms of its bottom line.
Yeah, well, we are a university, so we're not in this to make a profit or anything like that. But it's really just part of the whole university mission to equip people with business knowledge, business understanding, And of course, finance is part of that. And so that's what this particular program is about.
Queer, any questions from your side? No. Mel, I have to ask you this question as just as a wrap up. How many people make a joke about Mel Brooks, the actor? Especially when you stand up and you say, okay, we're going to be talking numbers for the next 3 days.
Yeah, I get asked, are you the Mel Brooks?
My
And then I
goodness.
say, yes, I am. You're probably thinking of a chap called Melvin Kaminsky.
That's right, because he had a stage name, didn't
Yes,
he?
yes. So, yeah, no, I do experience that. Although the only time I've had a laugh out of it was back in working in construction engineering days. We used to have to fly to Secunda. And with the big security in the old South Africa, you had to phone the registration of the aircraft through and the names of the passengers on board.
Right.
I rushed out one day, this was pre-cell phone days, I rushed out, forgot to phone, stopped in the driveway, ran inside, told the receptionist to call them. And fine, so we went there, came back, and the next morning she said to me, those people at Sasol Security are so rude. I said, why? She said, well, I gave them the registration, and then they asked who's on board, and I told them, Mel Brooks and Steve McQueen. And the guy said, don't get funny with me, lady.
Is that a true story, Mel?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely
What
that
a lovely
happened.
story.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks, Senior Lecturer on the Program Finance for Non-Financial Managers at Henley Business School. Thanks very much for your time. Something else you wanted to say?
Well, our website is out there at Henley at ac.za. And of course, we're on Twitter. And we send out, I believe, very useful information. So we're at Henley Africa. So people should follow us, and they'd be amazed at the good information they'll get.
We'll definitely put those details up on our radio website. And the course, if you are interested, it's a 3-day program. It'll be starting on the 11th of March. It runs until the 13th of March. You can still register for the course. You've got time until the 11th of March to register. Mel, thanks very, very much for joining us in studio.
The Business on Balls. Weekdays 11 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Onballs.co.za.
Brought to you by FNB Business Banking.